Frontman of the 1970s disco supergroup Boney M has died at the age of 61. Bobby Farrell was found dead in his hotel room after a performance in St. Petersburg. Boney M was one of the most popular bands of the late 1970s.
What's going on behind the scenes here that I don't know about? A singer being sought?
A singer being sought?
What he means is that Bobby had decided to leave.
When Bobby,
and he had nothing to lose.
Have you heard what happened to Boney M? The biggest music hoax and the tragic death of Bobby Farrell isn't just a question. It's a story that still shocks the music world.
Boney M music is the music of the universe. Communication music. Music is communication. Communication brings us closer. The closer we get, we fall in love, and what we do with it is our business.
Once the shining face of disco, Boney M conquered global charts with hits like Daddy Cool and Rivers of Babylon. But behind the glittering lights and unstoppable rhythm was a lie too big to stay hidden. The voices weren't always theirs, the fame wasn't what it seemed, and at the heart of it all was Bobby Farrell, a star whose end was as mysterious as his rise.
People, the demands to do something about this outrageous man became louder.
Let's break it down. It all began in 1974, inside a small recording studio in West Germany. Disco music was on the rise, and record producer Frank Farian was determined to create a sound that could travel beyond borders. Something exotic, soulful, and instantly addictive. But Farian's ambitions came with a twist. He didn't want to wait for the perfect band. He wanted the music first, the faces later. One late night, driven by curiosity and creativity, Farian recorded a track titled Baby Do You Wanna Bump? He sang every part himself, the deep, masculine baritone and the smooth, high-pitched harmonies.
Do you want to bump?
The result was hypnotic, catchy, and mysterious. When the track began gaining airplay across Europe, listeners were instantly hooked. Clubs filled with people dancing to it, but nobody knew who Boney M was because, in truth, no such group existed. The unexpected success of the single left Farian in a tight spot. Radio stations wanted interviews. Promoters wanted performances. The world was ready for a face, but behind the hit song was just one man and his microphone. So, instead of confessing, Farian made a bold move that would change pop music history. He decided to build Boney M from the ground up.
I've always felt that he is an entertainer at heart and never really had the courage or the guts to get up on the stage and just do it.
He began scouting the local scene for performers who could bring his studio creation to life. Through auditions and word of mouth, he discovered 4 talented Caribbean entertainers living in Germany: Liz Mitchell, Marsha Barrett, Maisie Williams, and a charismatic dancer from Aruba named Bobby Farrell. Together, they had everything he needed: the look, the movement, and the spark of authenticity that could sell the illusion to the world.
I've been here for 4 or 5 years as a solo artist, and I heard about this little group. I wasn't at all interested because I'm more of a solo type of person.
From that moment, Boney M became more than music. It became a spectacle, a visual illusion. While the group lit up stages with dazzling costumes and synchronized dance moves, the truth stayed locked behind closed doors. The deep, commanding male vocals that audiences adored weren't Bobby Farrell's, they were Frank Farian's. Bobby's job was to perform, to embody the energy, and to be the face of the voice that wasn't his. As the hits kept rolling, Daddy Cool, Ma Baker, Rivers of Babylon, the deception only deepened. The world saw Bobby as a superstar, unaware that he was lip-syncing to someone else's voice. And while Farian quietly reaped the rewards, Bobby became trapped in a glittering illusion, the living image of one of the greatest hoaxes in music history. But behind every illusion comes the moment when people start asking questions. As Boney M's fame exploded across the world, cracks began to appear beneath the glittering surface. The band that millions adored wasn't entirely what it seemed, and the deeper the success went, the louder the whispers became. In the studio, Frank Farian remained in full control. He was the architect of the Boney M sound, and everything ran through him. When the group went on tour, the world saw dazzling choreography, vibrant costumes, and electrifying performances. But when it came to recording new music, Farian didn't need all 4 members in the studio. In truth, only Liz Mitchell and Marcia Barrett, the 2 female vocalists, actually sang on most of the records. Maisie Williams and Bobby Farrell, though integral to the group's image, were often left out of the recording process altogether. This wasn't widely known at first. Fans believed every member contributed equally, and the record label was happy to let them think so. After all, the illusion sold, and as long as the hits kept coming, no one was supposed to question how they were made. But behind the smiles and stage lights, tension began to grow. Bobby Farrell, the group's most visible member, struggled with being the face of a voice that wasn't his. Maisie Williams also began to resent her silent role, realizing that her beauty and presence mattered more to Farian than her actual talent. The truth was uncomfortable. Boney M was built more on image than authenticity. Farian defended his choices by claiming that consistency mattered more than honesty, that audiences wanted perfection, not truth. In his eyes, the arrangement worked. He provided the sound, they provided the show.
Yeah.
Seeing he is the producer, he's spending the money. Right. So he naturally decides what is best for the group.
But to the performers, especially Bobby, that reasoning felt like betrayal. The debate over authenticity began to swirl, not just among the group, but within the music industry itself. Could success built on deception ever be real? Could fame feel fulfilling when it wasn't earned through one's own voice? By the late 1970s, Boney M had conquered the world, yet inside the group. Silence was growing louder than the music. The illusion that once united them was now dividing them. And for Bobby Farrell, the cracks in that illusion were starting to feel personal. Next came the unraveling when ego, control, and truth collided head-on. As the years went by, the illusion that had made Boney M famous began to turn against them. The same formula that brought global success under Frank Farian's control. The manufactured image, the lip-synced performances started to tear the group apart from within. What began as quiet frustration soon grew into open rebellion. Bobby Farrell, once the group's magnetic showman, had reached his limit. He was the face millions recognized, the dancer who commanded the stage with fire and charisma. Yet, in the studio, he had no voice, literally. Farian's refusal to let him sing on the records made Bobby feel humiliated. Every time he performed, every time the crowd cheered for that deep, powerful voice, he knew the truth. They were applauding another man's vocals. The tension between the two men reached boiling point. Bobby wanted freedom to sing, to express himself, to be more than a puppet in Farian's production. But Farian, known for his perfectionism and control, wasn't willing to take that risk. He believed Bobby's voice didn't match the polished sound that made Boney M a hit. To him, Bobby was an image, not an instrument. Arguments became frequent. Bobby started missing shows, walking out of rehearsals, and challenging Farian's authority. Farian, in turn, accused Bobby of being unreliable and unprofessional. What had once been a glittering partnership was turning toxic.
We come to judge you and look at you to judge, but there.
Meanwhile, the disco era that had defined Boney M's sound was beginning to fade. By the early 1980s, musical trends were shifting. Audiences wanted something new, and the once dominant group found itself struggling to stay relevant. Internal problems only made things worse, with lawsuits, lineup changes, and personal conflicts tearing at the seams. Bobby's absence was felt deeply by the team.
Really, every day I miss him. I miss his laughter, I miss his voice, I miss seeing him, I miss the fact that he's not around anymore.
In 1981, the inevitable happened. Frank Farian dismissed Bobby Farrell from the group. The man who had once been its heartbeat, the visual centerpiece, was suddenly gone. Without him, Boney M lost its spark. Fans were confused, record sales dropped, and the magic that had once filled arenas began to vanish.
What's going on behind the scenes here that I don't know about? A singer being sought? A singer being sought?
What he means is that Bobby had decided to leave.
When Bobby,
he
yes,
had
when
nothing to
Bobby.
lose, so why not?
Farian tried to keep the group alive with new singers and different lineups, but it was never the same.
So why not? So they were looking for someone who would to replace, who could.
The dream had collapsed under the weight of its own deception. What had started as a musical experiment had become a cautionary tale-proof that even the brightest lights eventually burn out when built on secrets and control. But for Bobby Farrell, the story didn't end there. His departure from Boney M would set him on a lonely path, one filled with struggle, reinvention, and a haunting mystery that would follow him until his final days. When the music stopped and the disco lights faded, what remained of Boney M wasn't harmony, it was chaos. The illusion that had once united them under Frank Farian's vision shattered completely after Bobby Farrell's departure. The group that had conquered charts and continents was now divided, not by distance, but by distrust and disappointment. What had started as creative tension soon turned into courtroom warfare. Bobby Farrell, bitter over his dismissal and the years he'd spent performing to someone else's voice, began fighting for his share of the legacy. He won limited rights to use the name Boney M in the Netherlands, where he continued performing to devoted fans. But this victory came with strings attached and endless confusion. Across Europe, multiple versions of Boney M began to appear, each claiming to be the real one. There was Liz Mitchell's Boney M, Maisie Williams's Boney M, and Bobby Farrell's Boney M, all performing the same songs, all representing fragments of what had once been one unstoppable force. Audiences were left wondering who owned the legacy, and the answer depended on which country you were in. Behind the scenes, the financial battles were even uglier. Farrell's daughter would later reveal that her father had been tricked into signing away his image rights and royalties. When he approached Farian for financial help, he was allegedly handed documents that, once signed, cut him off from the very music that had made him famous. The man who had electrified crowds across the world was now living on welfare in the Netherlands, stripped of the wealth his face had helped generate. The remaining members faced their own struggles. Marcia Barrett endured a series of health battles that kept her away from the stage. Maisie Williams, long criticized for her limited studio involvement, fought hard to protect her version of the group's image. Meanwhile, Farian maintained control over the original recordings and supported only Liz Mitchell's lineup as official. Court cases dragged on for decades, with no definitive resolution. Even after Farian's death in 2024, questions about rights, royalties, and ownership lingered, a reminder that Boney M's success had been built on shaky ground. By the end of it all, the empire had splintered. The music remained immortal, but the name was divided, its legacy clouded by betrayal, regret, and the price of fame built on illusion. By the late 2000s, the battles over Boney M's name and fortune had quieted. But for Bobby Farrell, peace never truly came. Years of touring small venues and performing nostalgic shows kept his spirit alive. Yet behind the bright costumes and familiar dance moves, there was an exhaustion that success could no longer mask. He was still the face fans adored, spinning, shouting, and smiling. But the industry that once made him a star had left him behind. On December 30th, 2010, that smile faded forever. Farrell had performed the night before in St. Petersburg, Russia, a city that carried eerie significance for his legacy.
The frontman of the 1970s disco supergroup Boney M has died at the age of 61. Bobby Farrell was found dead in his hotel room after a performance in St. Petersburg. Boney M was one of the most popular bands of the late 1970s.
The coincidence sent chills across the music world. To many, it felt symbolic, as if Bobby Farrell's story had come full circle in the most haunting way possible. He had spent decades embodying a fictional character from Russian history, and in the end, his final performance echoed the very legend he had once celebrated. Reports revealed that Farrell had complained of breathing problems after his show, and later that night, he was found lifeless in his hotel room. The official cause of death was heart failure. Yet, to his fans, there was something almost poetic about his passing. Dying on tour, still wearing the crown of disco's golden age. For Bobby, that stage had been both his blessing and his curse. It gave him fame, but took away his voice. It made him an icon, but left him voiceless in the story he helped tell. His death not only marked the end of an era, but also reignited the discussion about the unseen struggles behind pop stardom, the silent pain of artists used, forgotten, and replaced.
We're here for a very emotional occasion. So when you say, how is it? I mean, how is it? It's emotional. It's wonderful that we can meet up again, but it's under these circumstances. It would have been better if it was a different situation, different circumstance.
Even in death, Bobby Farrell remained larger than life. A performer whose story blurred the line between truth and illusion. And just like the music of Boney M, his legend continues to echo, timeless and bittersweet, across dance floors and generations. Now that we've uncovered the fallouts, the lawsuits, and the mystery around Bobby Farrell's death, it's time to rewind, back to where everything began. Before the fame and deception, there was ambition, creativity, and a producer with an idea that changed disco forever. In 1974, German producer Frank Farian wasn't trying to build a global pop group. He was just experimenting in the studio. His song, Baby Do You Wanna Bump, was meant to be a one-off project, but its hypnotic rhythm and infectious groove started spreading through European nightclubs.
Liz, Frank Farian was the man that put the band together. How much influence does he have on the direction of the band musically?
Oh, he still has a lot of influence because he with the record company, of course, decides.
Farian suddenly needed faces to match the voice, and that's when Boney M began to take shape. He assembled a group of Caribbean performers, Bobby Farrell, Marcia Barrett, Maisie Williams, and Liz Mitchell, whose charisma and stage energy would bring his studio sound to life.
Boney M, let's let the band introduce themselves, am I right?
How do you do? I'm Marcia Barrett.
Reggie Tebow.
Maisie Williams. Elizabeth Pemberton.
Welcome to Pop Shop.
Thank you.
Nice to talk.
Their first real breakout came with Daddy Cool. Overnight, Boney M wasn't just a song, it was a spectacle. From glittery outfits to synchronized moves, their performances became pure theater. The group soon evolved from a producer's side project into a full-blown pop empire, selling out shows and dominating the airwaves. By 1978, songs like Rivers of Babylon and Brown Girl in the Ring turned them into global superstars. For a while, it seemed unstoppable, the perfect marriage of rhythm, image, and sound. What no one knew, though, was that the very formula that created their fame would also become the reason it all fell apart. Before Boney M became a household name, it began as an idea in Frank Farian's mind, a sound that needed faces. But not just any faces. He needed charisma, rhythm, and a magnetic stage presence that could sell a dream. In 1975, Farian began searching through Germany's nightlife and performance scene for the right mix of talent and energy. He found it in 4 Caribbean performers each with their own story, each far from home but hungry for a breakthrough. Liz Mitchell, a powerhouse vocalist from Jamaica, had once sung with the Les Humphrey Singers and brought the soulful tone that would define Boney M's female harmonies. Marcia Barrett, born in Jamaica and raised in the UK, had the fiery stage confidence that electrified audiences. Maisie Williams, from Montserrat, wasn't a trained singer, but had undeniable beauty, poise, and model-like grace, the perfect visual anchor. And then there was Bobby Farrell, the flamboyant dancer from Aruba with raw charisma and unfiltered energy. Though not a strong vocalist, Bobby had something the others didn't. He was unforgettable on stage.
How do you do? I'm Marcy Barrett.
Reggie Tebow.
Maisie Williams, Elizabeth Pembroke.
Together, they were the missing pieces of Frank Farian's puzzle. He had the music, and now he had the image. When they stepped onto a stage together for the first time, audiences didn't see a producer's experiment. They saw magic. Their chemistry was electric, their moves infectious, and for a moment, no one questioned what was real or fake. The illusion was complete, and the world was ready to fall in love. But while the group's formation looked effortless, their path to true fame was anything but. The next step, breaking into television and making a hit that defined an era, would demand more than just rhythm and charisma. Let's move to the road that made them stars. By 1976, Boney M had the look, the style, and the energy, but they were still searching for that one song that would make the world take notice. Their early releases had done moderately well in Europe, but Frank Farian wanted more. He wanted domination. That breakthrough came with Daddy Cool. The track was catchy, simple, and unforgettable. Yet its success didn't happen overnight. It took a bold television performance to change everything. During a German TV appearance, Boney M exploded onto the screen. Bobby Farrell's wild dance moves, Liz and Marsha's synchronized energy, and Maisie's effortless glam created a spectacle unlike anything audiences had seen before. The performance went viral before viral even existed. Within weeks, Daddy Cool shot to the top of the charts. Boney M became the sound of every disco floor, their fame spreading like wildfire across Europe, Africa, and Latin America. Behind the scenes, though, Farian's control remained firm. He directed every studio session, every public image decision, ensuring the music sounded perfect, even if that meant the group's real voices weren't always heard. Still, Boney M had arrived, and what came next would take them from rising stars to international legends, though the higher they climbed, the more fragile their reality became. Between 1977 and 1980, Boney M dominated charts worldwide. Rivers of Babylon, Ma Baker, Brown Girl in the Ring, and Rasputin became anthems across continents. Their sound is a fusion of reggae, gospel, and disco transcending cultures and languages. Their concerts sold out stadiums. Their faces were on posters, magazines, and television screens from London to Lagos. Boney M wasn't just a disco act. They were a cultural bridge, blending Caribbean rhythm with European pop in a way the world had never seen before. But fame came with a cost. The group was working endlessly, touring non-stop, and performing to backing tracks they hadn't recorded. While audiences screamed for Bobby Farrell's voice, it was still Frank Farian's vocals echoing through the speakers. Tension began to creep in quiet at first, then louder with every success. The more famous they became, the more the truth behind the music started to matter. By 1979, Boney M stood at the peak of global stardom, but beneath the glitter and glamour, cracks were beginning to form. The illusion that built their empire was now threatening to destroy it. As the 1980s gave way to a new musical era, Boney M's once blinding spotlight began to dim. Disco was dying, and so was the illusion that had powered their success. Still, the group pressed on, releasing new material, touring under different lineups, and clinging to the sound that once ruled the world. Albums like 10,000 Light Years, 1984, and I Dance 1985 carried glimpses of their old brilliance but couldn't recapture the magic. Behind the scenes, fatigue, ego, and the scars of years spent under Frank Farian's control continued to haunt them. One by one, the members drifted apart, each seeking their own truth in the shadow of a legacy built on perfection and pain. Yet, despite the chaos, the music endured. Rivers of Babylon, Daddy Cool, Rasputin never truly left the dance floor. Decades later, their rhythms still fill clubs. Their harmonies still echo through generations who never knew the deception behind the shine. In the end, Boney M became more than a band. They became a paradox, a group born from illusion, yet immortalized by sound. And while the truth nearly broke them, the music they left behind made them unforgettable.